I was the hated side character in a story about a beloved heroine. When my mission failed, all I wished for was an end. I just wanted to go home, to my real world. But when they finally realized that my will to live had truly faded, the same people who once mocked and tormented me began to return, one after another, begging me to stay. They pleaded for me not to die, not to leave them behind. But I was already finished with them. My assignment had been simple in theory: save the devoted second male lead from his doomed fate. I was supposed to stop him from taking his life over the heroine's indifference. Instead, I watched him walk out of our engagement party the moment she called. When the crowd had scattered, I went alone to the rooftop terrace of Vaughan Tower. The city lights blurred below, and I asked the system in my head again, just to be sure. If this body dies, I can finally go home, right? A cold, mechanical voice answered, yes. That was all I needed to hear. I started walking toward the railing, the wind tugging at my dress. I'd barely taken 2 steps when a mocking voice cut through the night. I turned, and there he was. Leo Sterling, my adoptive brother. Not by blood, of course. I'd found him in an alley when he was 7 and taken him home. We were inseparable once, until he was 14, and his wealthy biological parents came to claim him. The next time I saw him, he was already one of the heroine Sera Roswell's most devoted followers. The years I'd spent working 3 jobs to pay for his schooling had been reduced to nothing more than a brief flicker of gratitude when we reunited. That didn't last long. Once he heard the rumors that I was a jealous, spiteful woman obsessed with Sera, he started treating me like a disease. Tonight had been no different. During my engagement party with Joey Vaughn, news broke that Sera had been kidnapped. The hall emptied in an instant. My fiancé was the first to leave. Before he walked out, he grabbed my wrist, his eyes dark and accusing. "This better not be your doing," he hissed, then left without a second glance. That was the 100th time. Since arriving in this world, Joey had chosen Sera over me exactly 100 times. And with that, the system marked my mission as a failure. A man that devoted to his heroine doesn't need saving. Trying to change that was arrogance on my part, a mistake both I and the system would pay for. I let out a soft, bitter laugh and looked at Leo again. The warmth I once felt for him was long gone. "I don't know why you're still here," I said coldly, "but do yourself a favor and stay out of my way. If you linger too long, you'll miss your chance to play the hero for your precious goddess." After all, Sera's so-called kidnapping was nothing but a staged performance, a carefully planned stunt by her family to destroy my wedding. Once everyone had rushed to save her, she would make her grand, miraculous return. Leo flinched, probably taken aback by the cold edge in my voice. He opened his mouth, but I had already turned my back on him. My mission had failed. There was no reason for me to linger in this world any longer. The only small mercy was that the system had noted my relentless efforts and granted me an exemption from punishment. As long as I left this world before the deadline, I could avoid total erasure. But back in my own world, my original body was dying, ravaged by a terminal illness. I remembered my mother's gaze just before I had been transported here, eyes brimming with gentle, heartbreaking sorrow. I bit my lip and quickened my steps toward the railing. "Faye, what are you doing?" Leo's voice, usually sharp and dismissive, now carried urgent fear as he saw me inching closer to the edge. He was right behind me. "What is this stunt? You know pretending to die won't sway Joey. And after everything you've done, even if you jumped right now, you'd never compare to Sera. You." His words caught in his throat. From his perspective, he watched me vault over the railing without hesitation, plunging into the glittering city below. The wind roared past me, sharp and stinging, yet it couldn't touch the surge of freedom in my chest. I was going home, back to my parents' arms, back to the people who truly loved me. All the years of suffering, humiliation, and injustice would stay behind. Almost there, just a little further. I closed my eyes. The world should have ended. But instead, a brutal jolt ripped through me. A hand clamped onto my arm, muscles straining, yanking me back from the edge. I opened my eyes. Leo hung from the railing with one hand, the other gripping my arm as though letting go was unthinkable. "Let go," I said, my voice unnervingly calm. Leo's jaw was tight, his eyes bloodshot and shimmering with unshed tears. "Faye, you and this time," he choked out. "You put on a convincing act, but it won't change anything." "Joey, he..." "Let go," I yelled, refusing to hear that name again. I thrashed violently, desperate to free myself. Leo leaned halfway over the edge, his hold on the railing tenuous as my struggles threatened to pull us both into the abyss. "Stop moving," he bellowed. "We'll both fall." When I ignored him, his tone softened, almost pleading. "I can't just let you die. If you keep this up, I'll fall with you. Do you really want me to die with you?" "Faye." He used my old name, the one he had whispered when we lived together, when the world felt small, and it was just the two of us. I remembered those days. He had been the only family I had. I'd spoiled him endlessly, and he'd learned early that charm could get him anything from me. Now, I looked up into his eyes, once bright as stars. Behind the controlled facade, a flicker of hope lingered. Was he waiting for me to respond? The thought nearly made me laugh at my own sentimentality. And I did laugh. I stared straight into his eyes and spoke, each word sharp and icy. "Who cares if you die?" The color drained from his face. His grip faltered, and his expression froze, as if he couldn't process the cruelty in my words. For a brief moment, hope surged in my chest again. Leo's grip was slipping when a sharp gasp rang out nearby, followed by panicked cries for help. The sudden noise jolted him back to reality. His fingers, which had nearly released me, tightened again, trembling with a strange mix of fear and disbelief. By the time a few onlookers pulled us both back to solid ground, Leo's usual hostility was gone. For once, he was quiet, too quiet. When I tried to break free and head for the railing again, he pushed through the crowd and seized my wrist with a grip that felt like iron. "We still don't know what happened to Sera," he announced stiffly, his voice tight, his eyes rimmed red. "As the prime suspect, it's my job to keep an eye on you." He caught me staring and quickly turned away. For a fleeting second, though, I caught something raw on his face, an emotion that looked almost like sorrow. Sorrow? For what? I nearly laughed. I remembered the first time I met Leo. Back when the sterling heir had been kidnapped and abandoned by his parents' rivals, left to rot in the slums. He was only 7, a skinny little boy bullied by other kids and chased by stray dogs. One day, he hid inside a reeking dumpster at the end of an alley, too exhausted to move. It was the height of summer. The air was heavy with heat and flies. He crouched there, surrounded by filth, waiting for life to end. His only act of defiance was calling out to me as I walked by on my way home from school. I still remember pulling him out of that dumpster, scrubbing the grime off his face, and tailoring my late father's old clothes to fit him. I was 12 then, living off a small orphan's allowance, but I shared every bit of it with him. I hadn't even recovered my memories as a mission runner yet. I was just an ordinary girl with no powers or advantages. To feed us both and keep him in school, I worked part-time after class, collecting bottles, washing dishes, anything that paid. Because I was underage, I earned barely anything. I washed plates until my hands cracked, wondering how many more I'd need to scrub before I could buy us a future. Those long, sweaty evenings in the back of a greasy restaurant, the weak hum of an old fan, and the constant ache in my arms became the backdrop of my youth. Once, I asked him why he'd called out to me that day instead of the dozens of others who had passed the alley. He'd smiled, a bright, innocent smile, and said he had been watching for a while. He chose me because he believed I was the only one who looked truly kind. That same Leo vanished without a word when his rich parents found him years later. When we finally met again, he stood beside Sera, denouncing me with righteous anger. The boy who once swore he trusted my kindness was now quick to condemn me, his voice full of disappointment and disgust. And now, thanks to his self-appointed duty of guarding me for Sera's sake, I couldn't even find a chance to die in peace. After seeing me try to jump twice without hesitation, Leo finally understood. This wasn't an act. I genuinely wanted to die. His attitude shifted after that. On the drive back, he spoke more gently, as though trying to talk me off a ledge I'd already left. "You've done a lot of wrong things," he said quietly, "but Sera isn't vindictive. If you just apologize, maybe everything can go back to how it was." I didn't respond. I kept my eyes closed, pretending to sleep. It wasn't until he mentioned Joey that my pulse stirred. Leo noticed. A faint, bitter smile touched his lips, but I didn't care. All I could think about was Joey, the man who worshipped Sera to the point of madness. If I provoked him enough, maybe he'd finally do me the favor I couldn't do for myself. Maybe he'd kill me for her. Joey Vaughn, my mission target. In the novel, he was the tragic second male lead, wealthy, brilliant, and utterly devoted to the heroine. His childhood had been a wasteland of neglect and emotional abuse. Sera Roswell had been the first light in his darkness, the one person who made him believe life could be kind. Even after he became a powerful tycoon who could move markets with a single word, that devotion never wavered. He built empires, but all for her. And when the story reached its end, after ensuring her happiness with another man, he walked into the sea and never returned. That was the fate I was sent to change. My mission began in high school, the moment Sera transferred to our class and I awakened as a mission runner. By then, Joey had already fallen for her at first sight, enchanted by the way she shielded a stray kitten from the rain. But his love wasn't loud or desperate. It was quiet, enduring. He would have accepted any pain, even marrying someone he didn't love, if it meant protecting her. That someone was me. At the time, Sera mistakenly believed I had feelings for the main male lead, Ethan Cross. Heartbroken, she withdrew. Joey tried to comfort her, but nothing worked. So, he did the only thing he could think of. He pursued me. By keeping me close, he could keep Sera in his sight. How pathetic that I once believed I had won his heart. I even told the system proudly that sincerity could melt any ice. An iceberg does melt, yes, but never for someone like me. Joey came back while Leo was keeping watch over me in the living room. He watched me so closely I couldn't move, so I bored myself by playing a handheld game. Then the maids announced him in the foyer, and the next moment my console was knocked from my hands. Joey's hard, handsome face filled my vision, a suffocating pressure curling around my throat. My head went fuzzy, everything narrowing to his bloodshot eyes. "Where did you hide her?" he snarled. "Where's Sera?" They still hadn't found her. I couldn't help a small, satisfied smile. As expected, the heroine loved a dramatic entrance. She always made sure the audience waited. My smile must have provoked him, because his grip tightened. Perfect, I thought, silently thrilled. Strangle me, and not only will I get to go home, but you'll end up rotting behind bars. Suddenly, there was a roar beside me, Leo lunging forward and throwing a punch at Joey's face. Joey sidestepped, and the hand at my throat released. I stumbled into a warm, protective hold. It was Leo. He steadied me, pushed me behind him, and for the first time in years, looked at Joey with raw, unmasked fury. "Joey, you nearly killed her," he barked. Joey, who had been staring at his own hands as if unmoored, lifted his head. When his gaze met mine behind Leo, it cooled instantly. "Leo, Faye is my fiancée," he said, voice flat. "This is between us." He started to step past Leo and ordered me, "Come here." I didn't move. Leo, having reached the end of his patience, planted himself between us and protected me more fiercely. "She's your fiancée, and this is how you treat her?" "Who gave you the right?" he demanded. Joey snapped back sharp, veins visible at his neck. "She had Sera kidnapped. We still don't know if Sera is alive or dead." Then he tried to shame Leo. "Remember when you first came to the Sterlings? Who welcomed you back, who helped you belong? Sera did. Don't be ungrateful." Leo fell quiet. When it came to Sera, he almost always softened, but after a long pause he asked, steady and measured, "Do you have proof?" Joey's answer was angry and immediate. "Hasn't she done enough already? She framed Sera, stole from her. Everyone knows it. And each time, Sera forgave her. Isn't that enough?" I almost laughed, listening from behind Leo. Of course Sera forgave me. Who else would make her magnanimous glow so obvious? Just as I was about to provoke Joey into giving me what I wanted, Leo surprised both of us. "I believe her," he said. "What?" I blurted, incredulous. "I believe Faye. She's innocent," he repeated, voice ringing with conviction. Joey's expression turned stormy. I spoke from behind Leo, with a humorless smile. "Don't start now. You've accused me so many times. What's one more?" I tried to step around Leo and leave. He clutched my wrist, holding me fast, eyes never leaving Joey. "Under what condition would someone choose death to prove their innocence?" he asked. "If a person is so constantly misunderstood, so defenseless, that the only way left is a final act, it means they've been wronged over and over. Right after you abandoned her, Joey, she jumped off the roof in front of me. She doesn't want to live." Of course, I realized then what his afternoon had been spent thinking. That smile I'd worn as I leapt, the pure joy of finally going home, must have looked like a bitter, relieved grin to him. I noticed Joey's knuckles tremble under his sleeve, pain flickering in his eyes. Before I could interrupt, Leo grabbed me and started pulling me toward the front door. "They don't believe you, but I do this time," he said urgently. "Faye, come with me." No, I snapped, wrenching my arm free and giving him a cold smirk under his astonished stare. Don't play the hero, Leo. I don't believe you, for a second. With him around, I'd never get another chance to go home. An enraged Joey was a far better means to an end. With the right provocation, I might finally reach the perfect finale. I go home, he goes to jail. I expected Leo to lash out at me again, to hide his anger behind his usual passive-aggressive remarks. But instead, he just stood there, silent. His eyes grew glossy, his voice trembling when he finally spoke. I won't let anything happen to you, he said quietly, then turned and walked out. When I looked back, Joey was still there, watching me. His expression was calm, but a storm churned behind his eyes. You and Leo seem close, he said, voice sharp. I shrugged. I raised him once. That's all. It was the first time I'd said it aloud. The truth of Leo's childhood, his years spent surviving in the streets before the Sterlings took him back, had been buried long ago. No one knew. Before I could even blink, Joey shoved me onto the sofa. His hand went to my throat again, but this time, the touch was strangely gentle, his face so close I could feel his breath. His grip loosened as he stared at me. Then, with a faint sigh, he let go. His thumb brushed over the bruises he'd left, almost tenderly. Let's stop fighting, he murmured. Just tell me where Sera is. Please. For a second, something human flickered in his eyes, that same softness he'd shown when he once knelt to propose. He had told me then, if you behave and stop causing trouble, we can finally be happy. But I already knew he'd only proposed because Sera wanted him to. He didn't love me. He was keeping me as her replacement. Now, staring at that familiar face, I smiled faintly. Faye, he said gently, hope sparking in his tone. Be good. We can still fix this, as long as you stop hurting Sera. In your dreams. I cut him off. My voice was ice. Telling you where she is or pretending we can be happy again, both are delusions. If you keep pushing me, I won't hold back, he warned. Then do it, I challenged. If you can't kill me, you're weaker than I thought. He flinched, anger flashing in his eyes, but before anything else could happen, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I was half-conscious, my body weak and my mind foggy. I felt something warm touch my cheek, then the soft brush of lips. It must be a dream, I thought. Joey had never kissed me unless someone was watching. But the voice I heard next wasn't imagined. It was real, low, and unsteady. Faye, what am I supposed to do with you? I forced my eyes open and found him gazing down at me. For the first time, I saw something raw beneath his usual control. Guilt, regret, pity. Then it all vanished. His face hardened again. Tell me where Sera is, he said, his tone calm but dangerous. In his hand was a syringe filled with clear liquid. This, he explained with eerie composure, is rare, expensive, and untraceable. 3 minutes of agony, and it looks like a heart attack. I smiled. Joey mistook it for surrender, right until I grabbed his wrist and drove the needle into my own neck. Joey, I whispered, my voice trembling as my vision blurred, I'll tell you a secret. He looked stunned, already shouting for help, clutching me against him. I was good to you because I loved you. I know, he said quickly, voice cracking. I know, just stay awake, please. I leaned against his shoulder, finishing the sentence with a faint smile. I loved you, but you never trusted me. Now, the thought of you makes me sick. I'd rather die than share the same world with you. With what little strength I had left, I pushed him away. His face twisted, shock, pain, confusion, all blending together as I slipped from his arms. Finally, I thought, I can go home. Faye. Faye. The sound of the door bursting open reached me faintly, followed by a familiar voice. Ethan Cross. He rushed in, shouting. We found Sera. It was her rival family. They were behind everything. What did you say? Joey's voice trembled. But I didn't hear the rest. My soul felt light. My parents' faces appeared before me, smiling gently. I reached for them. And then something yanked me back. When I opened my eyes again, all I saw was white. The sharp scent of antiseptic filled my lungs. A hospital? You're awake? Ethan's voice was calm and kind. He was peeling an apple beside my bed, his usual gentle smile in place. But I only felt disappointment. Why am I still alive? I asked, my tone flat. His hands froze mid-motion. He sighed softly, set the knife down, and tucked the blanket around me. I explained everything to them. Joey's too ashamed to face you now. They all know they were wrong. Don't dwell on it, he said quietly. You still have me, remember? Your big brother. I let out a cold laugh. In that case, brother, shouldn't your girlfriend clear things up publicly? She's the one who convinced everyone I was the villain. Ethan hesitated, his expression tightening. For once, he had no answer. Ethan had always been the one who protected me, or at least, that was how it looked on the surface. When we were children, our families lived next door. His parents were brilliant scientists, always buried in their research. My parents, kind and soft-hearted, often took pity on the lonely boy next door. They invited him over for meals, bought him gifts whenever they bought something for me, and even gave him a small bed in our guest room for nights when he was too afraid to sleep alone. He became part of our family. In return, he helped me with schoolwork. He was gifted, and under his patient tutoring I started to excel too. Those were peaceful days, filled with laughter and light. Until the night it all ended. It was a stormy summer evening. Thunder rattled the windows as lightning tore across the sky. Ethan's parents called in a panic. Ethan was missing. His teacher said he left school as usual, but he hasn't come home, they said. We're in the middle of an experiment and can't leave. Could you help us look for him? My mother tried to stop my father from going out in that dangerous weather, but worry won over caution. They couldn't bear the thought of something happening to Ethan. That night, their car skidded off a wet bridge and plunged into a river. Rescue teams didn't find them until the following morning. And Ethan. He came home that same morning, perfectly safe, wearing clean clothes and looking confused as I ran out of the house screaming. When I asked where he had been, he told me he'd found a lost little girl and helped her get home. The girl, he said, lived in the wealthiest district in the city. Her family's maid had offered him shelter from the storm, and by the time he returned, it was already too late. I'd cried, asking him why he hadn't called. He knew my parents' number by heart. Why hadn't he let anyone know he was safe? Ethan could only bow his head, whispering the same words over and over. I'm sorry. Not long after, his family moved away, and my life unraveled. My relatives took everything from me, our house, our savings, and I ended up in the slums. Years later, when I bonded with the system, I finally learned the truth. The little girl he had helped that night was Sera Roswell. While my parents were driving through the storm, calling his name into the dark, Ethan had been standing in Sera's palatial home, mesmerized by her world of marble floors and glittering chandeliers. The boy who once shared our modest dinners had seen luxury for the first time, and forgot everything else. By the time he remembered, my parents were gone. In the original story, that was where my family's chapter ended. Ethan's guilt would follow him until he met the heroine again. She would soothe his regret, and together they would heal. But I wasn't supposed to return. When I re-entered their world, I worked relentlessly to enroll in their elite academy, my true goal being to get close to Joey. Instead, I ran into Ethan. He still called me his sister, still smiled the same way, only now with guilt etched into his every gesture. He tried to protect me, maybe to ease his conscience. But his overfamiliar kindness didn't go unnoticed. People whispered, and the person who noticed most was Sera. From that moment, she despised me. To her, I wasn't a victim of Ethan's guilt. I was a shameless rival. It didn't matter how far I distanced myself or how many explanations I gave. When she discovered I liked Joey, it turned into a cruel, twisted cycle. Ethan hovered around me out of guilt. Sera clung to Joey out of jealousy. Joey adored Sera, and I was the one trying to save him. Sera was the first to break the pattern. She began framing me at every turn, desperate to erase me from her perfect story. Her family's power made it easy. And every time she did, the system would sigh helplessly in my mind, whispering, "Why is the heroine like this?" Eventually, my name became a stain, and Sera's pure-hearted image became her crown. This time, she'd accused me of orchestrating her kidnapping. Somehow, Ethan persuaded her to change the story, claiming it was the work of her family's rivals. I wasn't sure how much he truly knew, so I tested him. What if, I asked quietly, between me and Sera, only one of us can live? Faye, don't say things like that, he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Tell me what you want. I'll make it happen. I leaned back against the pillows, my smile cold. Then kill me. Ethan froze. I can't do that. Anything but that. Then make her kneel and apologize, I said flatly. Because if you don't kill me, I'll kill her. His composure finally cracked. Faye, he said sharply, everything Sera's done was because of me. If you need to hate someone, hate me. And then he realized what he'd just admitted. His face went pale. So you knew, I said softly, the last shred of warmth in me dying. Faye, he stammered, unable to finish. He didn't need to. I already knew. When she accused me of stealing her family heirloom, I said, my voice trembling with laughter that quickly turned to tears, you knew the security footage was fake. You knew those witnesses were bribed, those transaction records fabricated, that she used my scholarship card to plant money and make me look guilty. My voice broke. You knew all of it, didn't you? Ethan's head lowered, shoulders slumping under the weight of his silence. The boy who once held my hand and promised to protect me couldn't even meet my eyes. And in that moment, I understood. The people I once loved had watched me drown, just like my parents. Back when my reputation was painted as vicious, I would stare at the scowling faces around me and think, they're being deceived. If I could just reveal the truth, maybe they'd understand. But what could one person do against the weight of the Roswell family? Every attempt to clarify only triggered a deeper snare. Each explanation led to another lie, another trap. I could only watch as misunderstandings stacked higher. If you had defended me once, just once, maybe they'd have believed me. I whispered through my tears. Your girlfriend gets protection, but what about me? Did I deserve none of it? I looked at Ethan, my voice sharp and raw. He flinched, hand reaching out as if to soothe me like old times, but I slapped it away. Ethan, who have you ever truly protected? I asked, laughing through sobs. You promised to make amends, yet you vanished. You abandoned me and you failed my parents. You failed me. Stop, please, stop, he choked, his body shaking violently, his chest racked with pain. But I didn't stop. You wanted to atone for your guilt by keeping me close for appearances, but secretly, you shielded Sera. You tried to have both and failed at both. And now I'm the one caught in the mess of your twisted story. I struck him across the face. Hard. The slap sent his glasses flying and left 5 sharp red marks blooming across his pale cheek. His lips trembled. He couldn't defend himself. Finally, the once proud, composed young man sank to his knees on the cold hospital floor. I was wrong. Everything was wrong, he rasped, hoarse and shaking. Faye, I wanted too much. I failed to protect you, and I failed to protect Sera. Tears fell freely. He looked up at me, shattered, desperate. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to make you forgive me. Your aunt and uncle are gone. I just want you to live a good life. His hand reached for the hem of my gown, trembling uncontrollably, a reflex born of trauma. But I stepped back, my eyes cold. I'm not a fool, Ethan. Your apologies don't change anything, I said. Then I walked out, leaving him collapsed on the floor, gasping for air, his face flushed with effort and panic. Faye, he called after me, a broken, pleading smile on his lips. Can you really not forgive me? Before I could respond, the door burst open. Leo stormed in, rage and tears streaming from his eyes. He landed a punch on Ethan, pinning him to the floor. How dare you? Leo shouted, voice shaking with fury. Are you never satisfied until you drive her to her death? Don't you have a shred of conscience? How could you do this to her? I'm sorry, Ethan whispered, before collapsing entirely. Leo jumped up, pounding his own chest. You're all monsters. I trusted you, and I failed her too. I was cruel. I never meant to hurt you. The nurses rushed in as Leo's screams pierced the air. Ethan was taken away, but Leo remained, eyes locked on me, frozen in desperation. Sis, will you come with me? He begged, voice trembling. Joey treats you like this, you'll die if you stay. Please, I'm begging you. I ignored him. When the Vaughn family's bodyguards appeared, I walked out without looking back. Why? Leo shouted after me, voice breaking. You always cared for me. Why is it that after we reunite, all you see is Joey? The closest? I mocked, a bitter smile curving my lips. You didn't seem to think that when you called me a vicious, gold-digging snake. Leo, you're no better than Joey. You're both disgusting. I left him, shattered and lost, behind me. This time, I didn't glance back. I don't know how much Joey saw of the hospital scene, but from that day forward he avoided me. Perhaps he couldn't bear to face the truth. His pristine, perfect love had become irrevocably tarnished. Left alone, I tried to end my life by any means I could. Jumping, cutting, drowning, everything was blocked. The house had eyes everywhere. Mrs. Davison, the head housekeeper, called Joey in tears. "Sir, you have to come. She's falling apart." But he didn't come. Every possible method, every potential escape had been removed. Windows sealed. Blades confiscated. I was trapped. When I ran out of ways to pass the time, I started banging my head against the wall and cursing every generation of Joey's family. He didn't get angry. Instead, he began dropping hints through the staff that he and Sera weren't seeing each other anymore. Then came the flowers. Lilies, roses, daisies. Every morning, a fresh bouquet appeared on my bedside table. I threw them out. He sent more. Sometimes, if I woke up early enough, I'd catch a glimpse of his back disappearing through the doorway before sunrise. We were at a stalemate. The system warned me that my time was running short. I told it not to worry, someone would break first. That someone was Leo. He showed up at the Vaughn mansion again and again, demanding to take me away. He even threatened to kill himself if his family didn't intervene. His elders finally tried to reason with Joey, but Joey was the head of the Vaughn family now. When he dug in, no one could move him. The tension between the two families erupted into open conflict. At last, Leo confronted Joey in person. "If I hadn't disappeared during her best years, Faye never would have been yours," he spat. "You're just a thief who doesn't know how to treasure what he stole." That finally got to Joey. That night, I woke to find a heavy body pressing against mine. The smell of alcohol was suffocating. When my eyes adjusted, I saw Joey's face hovering above me, flushed and full of grief. I'd never seen him so broken. He grabbed my hand and pressed it to his cheek like a lost child. "He said your love for me was stolen," he murmured, voice thick with drink. "He said I don't cherish you. But I do. I just don't know how to face you anymore." "Joey," I said flatly, pulling my hand away. "I'm not your love. You walked out before our engagement ceremony even began. I was never your fiancé." He froze, clarity flashing through the haze for a moment before he slumped back into his drunken act. "No, my Faye loves me most. You'll always be my only wife." I looked at him with a blank expression. "Joey, you're too old for this performance. Honestly, if you just stayed loyal to Sera, I might have respected you a little." That struck a nerve. He slammed his fist into the pillow beside my head, his hand sinking deep into the feathers. When I looked up, his eyes were red and wild. "Then what am I supposed to do?" he shouted, voice trembling with anger and despair. "I was born to be used by my family. If Sera hadn't supported me back then, I'd be dead. What do you want from me?" He broke down for a moment, chest heaving, then his voice softened, almost tender. "You've done bad things too, but it's fine. I won't hold it against you." A madman. I stared at him coldly, detached. "She's so perfect, right?" I said quietly. "Then marry her. You deserve each other." "Pathetic." He stiffened. "No wonder she doesn't love you," I continued. "You don't deserve love from anyone." I must have been blind. "Shut up," he roared, and suddenly his hands were around my throat. His grip tightened, cutting off my breath. "You're the one who promised to stay with me forever," he screamed. "You said you'd never leave. Why can't I feel your love anymore?" He was frantic, terrified, clinging to something that no longer existed. My vision blurred, but I managed a cold smile. "Yes, just like that. Kill me. I get my funeral, and you get your execution." Just before I lost consciousness, he realized what he was doing and pulled back, horror flickering across his face. "You're doing this on purpose," he whispered, trembling. "You'd rather die than stay with me." His voice cracked. No, you still love me. You're just angry. I'll win you back." He pulled me into a suffocating embrace, tears running down his face. "I'll marry you, okay? We'll have a good life. Just us, no one else." I shoved him off and slapped him hard. Then, in blind fury, I grabbed whatever I could reach, the lamp, a pillow, a glass of water, and threw it all at him. "Joey, if you have any courage left, kill me and end it. Stop torturing me," I screamed. The glass struck him square in the forehead, splitting the skin. Blood streamed down his face. He stood there in silence for a long moment, then picked up his jacket. At the door, he let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "You say I favored Sera, but look at you. Ethan's willing to turn against his own family for you. Leo worships the ground you walk on. Are you really so innocent?" I laughed. "You're right. They're good men. That's exactly why I should give up on you and choose one of them. My laughter echoed after him as he fled. The next morning, I received an unexpected guest, Sera. She claimed Joey had sent her to explain their relationship to me. Sera appeared in an immaculate white dress, her hair perfectly arranged. She took a seat across from me, a polished smile on her face, then let out a dramatic sigh. But everyone knows Joey loves me. How am I supposed to explain that? I ignored her, focusing instead on the silk scarf around her neck. My vacant stare seemed to amuse her. She brightened. You don't need to be upset, she said, venom barely hidden behind her words. Even with your reputation ruined, Ethan begged me to alter my story for you. He really cares about his little sister. Her gaze sharpened as she shifted to Leo. When he returned to the Sterling family, he talked endlessly about you. He wanted to come find you, but his family forbade it. I told him to wait, to grow stronger and more mature before he saw you. That way, he'd make you happier. Her smile deepened, fixed on me like a predator watching its prey. Then he finally saw you again, but he never spoke of it afterward.
Why?
Because the kindest sister he knew had become a liar, a gold-digging parasite. I didn't react as she hoped. Instead, I smiled and replied, yes, Leo is wonderful. It would be even better if he developed a fake product and sold it to your family company, just like Ethan did. Sera's expression froze. Her lips pressed into a tight line. Ethan had executed my plan perfectly. Over the past few years, the Roswell family had invested heavily in a new high-tech product. At the launch, Ethan unveiled an outdated relic from a decade ago, cutting the company's most vital revenue stream. Even so, Sera couldn't bring herself to report him or have him arrested. She came to me instead, venting her frustrations, accusing me of stealing her fiancé, blaming everyone except the man she loved. I had no patience left. I picked up my hot tea and flung it in her face. As she shrieked, I advanced, yanking her silk scarf and twisting it around her neck. It was Ethan's indecision that made you insecure. That's his fault, not mine. So now, I'm taking my revenge, I whispered. Sera gasped, her composure crumbling as she struggled for air. Faye, if you do this, Joey will never forgive you. At that moment, Joey and his men arrived. His eyes locked on mine, and for a fleeting second, I thought I saw joy flicker there. Joy for what? That I'd attacked the woman he loved? Or that he could reclaim his moral superiority? Faye, it was all an act, he said, his face a storm of fury. You never change. I was right about you. I loosened my grip slightly. Sera whispered tearfully, I can help you get out of this. I don't believe you. I swear. You just want to prove your place in Joey's heart. We can make a bet. Her face forced a smile through the tears. I listened carefully, then slowly nodded, letting her go. Joey swooped in and lifted the trembling Sera, heading for the hospital. As he left, he glanced back at me, his eyes heavy and unreadable. I hope you'll think of an apology by the time I return. Sera knew exactly how to handle him. Once he returned from the hospital, Joey removed all the guards watching me. Ignoring Mrs. Davison's pleas, he dragged me out of the house. Sir, please. Miss Faye is not well. Something might happen, she begged. She'll be fine, he sneered, his expression smug. She'd never truly let herself die. I played my part, crying and begging him not to make me leave. My act confirmed his belief that all my previous antics had been for attention. His face darkened. Sera was right. I've been too lenient. You need a lesson to understand who truly cares for you. I looked up at him, my voice soft. In all the time we were together, did you ever truly believe me? A flicker of memory crossed his face, my care, my love, but it was quickly buried under the shadow of a girl from a rainy day long ago. Faye, if you play the same game too many times, it stops working, he said, regret briefly flashing in his eyes. He gave no more words, only instructing me to think about what I've done before closing the door. I wandered into the darkness, unsure how long I walked. Just as I neared a glimmer of light, everything went black. When I opened my eyes, Sera and I were tied to the edge of a cliff. Not far away, Joey, Leo, and a team of special police stood, frantic. Let her go. Faye, let her go. Do you hear me? I heard Leo shout, struggling to rush forward, but being restrained. Our captor didn't even glance at Leo. His attention was fixed on Joey. Mr. Vaughn, you can only choose one. Who lives and who dies, it's up to you. Joey's expression hardened. I'll pay whatever you want. Just let them both go. His voice softened when he looked at me. Don't be afraid, Faye. Everything will be all right. The kidnapper's lips twisted into a cruel grin. We don't want your money. We just want to watch the great Joey Vaughn lose the two women he loves most. Joey's jaw tightened. His hand moved slightly as signal. Somewhere in the distance, a sniper waited for the right moment. But before anyone could act, Sera let out a sharp, terrified scream as the kidnapper forced her head over the cliff's edge. Joey, she cried, her voice trembling. I'm scared. The bandage still wrapped around her forehead fluttered in the wind. Under the gray sky, she looked fragile, like a pale flower on the verge of breaking. Joey's gaze lingered on that bandage, his expression flickering with guilt. Don't move, the man holding her barked, jerking her back roughly. Sera stumbled, barely catching herself. The entire group froze, every breath caught in suspense. Then, for a split second, Sera's eyes met mine. A faint, mocking smile curved her lips. You're going to lose again, she mouthed silently. I smirked faintly. Aren't you afraid they'll figure out this whole scene was staged? She scoffed softly. Please. With the Roswell family's influence, they'll never find out. That's how it's always been. The mercenary at her side tightened his grip and called out, Mr. Vaughn, if you can't decide, we'll make the choice for you. Sera screamed again, clinging to the cliff's edge. Joey, save me, she cried over and over, her tears streaking her pale face. Joey's fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. If you hurt her, I swear. Enough, the captor snapped. Make your choice. Sera slipped slightly, letting out another blood-curdling scream. Joey's shoulders sagged. He turned to me, anguish filling his eyes. Faye, he said hoarsely, is this what you wanted? You don't care about money. You just want to prove who matters more to me, right? He gave a bitter, humorless laugh. I've tolerated your games long enough. I can't let you keep making mistakes. And just like that, Joey chose Sera. Silence swallowed the scene. Leo broke free and charged forward, landing a furious punch on Joey. Sera turned to me with a victorious smirk. Goodbye, she said sweetly, walking toward him. The man restraining me released his hold. Joey exhaled, relief crossing his features. Faye, stop turning everything into one of your childish tests. But his words died on his tongue. I had stepped backward, until my heels touched the very edge of the cliff. One more move, and I'd fall into the raging sea below. Faye! His voice trembled for the first time. Sis! Leo shouted, struggling against the officers holding him down. Tears streaked his face. Don't do this. He's not worth your life. Please come back. I was wrong. I shouldn't have been jealous. I shouldn't have let him take you from me. I smiled faintly, calm and distant. Joey, I said quietly, this is the 101st time. His brows knit. What are you talking about? The 101st time you've chosen Sera over me. My voice stayed steady, though my heart thudded in my chest. I really did love you. If, just once, you'd chosen to believe me without question, none of this would have happened. I saw panic flash across his face, and for the first time, I felt an odd sense of satisfaction. Then I turned to Sera. You probably don't realize it, but I left a parting gift. I pointed to the second button on my blouse. There's a hidden camera here. Everything you said and did has been live-streamed. I had planned to leave quietly, but not with a ruined name. I refused to let the world remember me as a liar and a thief. I had come into this life with good intentions, and I would leave it clearing my own name. For a second, panic flickered in Sera's eyes. Then she quickly recovered, forcing a calm smile. Of course, she believed the Roswell family could cover it up. To her, my live stream probably never even made it online. But her confidence vanished when she grabbed a nearby phone. The internet was already on fire. Hashtag Roswell heiress is toxic. Hashtag rich girl bully. The hashtags were everywhere. People were reposting the video of her confession, her cruelty, her mockery, crystal clear for the whole world to see. When Joey finally took out his phone, confusion written all over his face, Sera panicked. She lunged toward him, trying to knock it away before he could see the truth. But she was too late. Joey's expression turned pale as he stared at the screen, then at me. It's fake. It's all fake. Sera screamed hysterically, pointing in my direction. Then her eyes darted around in sudden realization. Her supposed partner in this whole act was nowhere to be seen. Her gaze snapped back to me, and I gave her a small, knowing smile. "He helped me," I said softly. "He's the one who gave me the camera. So now, you two can spend the rest of your lives blaming each other. Have fun." And with that, I leaned back and let myself fall. The air rushed past me, and the roar of the sea swallowed everything else. Behind me, someone screamed my name. Maybe Joey, maybe Leo. I couldn't tell anymore. I no longer cared. As the freezing ocean swallowed me, my soul began to drift upward. From above, I could see Joey collapse to his knees, his face streaked with tears. He coughed up blood and screamed until his voice broke. Leo fought against the people restraining him, desperate to jump in after me, but his family held him back. Far away, in a quiet apartment, Ethan sat before his computer, watching as the video of Sera's confession spread across every platform. His wrist was slashed open, blood dripping onto the keyboard, but he didn't stop. He kept pushing the story higher, making sure the world knew the truth. When his strength finally gave out, he whispered into the silence, "Faye, you must hate me, but it's all right. I've avenged you. I didn't even spare myself. When we meet again, I'll make it right." And then, as my consciousness faded, I saw them. My parents, their gentle faces glowing with warmth, and the tearful smiles of my friends. Just before everything went dark, the system's voice echoed faintly in my mind. Host's presence has triggered an intense collective desire for survival among key individuals. Mission complete. Reward granted. When I opened my eyes again, my mother was holding my hand, sobbing. "It's a miracle, sweetheart. The doctors say your illness is completely gone." I couldn't hold back anymore. I threw my arms around her, crying into her shoulder. My father joined us. For the first time in what felt like lifetimes, I was home. Epilogue. Time passed. I recovered, returned to school, and began to rebuild my life, surrounded by love and support. Then one day, the system's voice returned. It offered me one last glimpse into the world I had left behind. After my death, Joey descended into madness. He turned his grief into vengeance, exposing every lie and secret the Roswell family had buried. He forced Sera to publicly apologize, then tore down her family's empire with his own hands. The once mighty Roswell dynasty collapsed within 3 years. Sera came to his mansion one stormy night, kneeling in the rain, begging for forgiveness. But Joey didn't even open the door. He stopped caring about everything: his company, his fortune, his life. Alcohol became his only companion. When I saw him again, he was living in a small rented room, sick and dying from stomach cancer. He smiled faintly when he saw my spirit standing before him. "You look different," he said weakly. "Happier. That's good." He reached out to touch me, but I stepped back. A look of sorrow crossed his face. "I'll die soon. Then maybe I can find you again and finally make things right." I shook my head. "No, Joey. You're the only one dying. I was reborn into another world, into light and love. You'll stay here, rotting in your regrets. Even in death, our paths will never cross again." Then I was gone, leaving him alone in the darkness he created. As for Sera and Ethan, Ethan's suicide attempt failed, but his family turned on him after his betrayal of the Roswells. Sera, stripped of her power, used him the same way she once used me, breaking him piece by piece. When the Roswell empire finally fell, she showed up at his door, pleading to start over. He let her in. That night, he turned on the gas. By morning, both were gone. And Leo, he carried the weight of his guilt for the rest of his life. Leaving his family behind, he went to teach in a remote mountain village, far from the city that had destroyed us all. In his dreams, he saw me often. "Sister," he said once, "I'm helping people now. I finally understand what it means to be good. Does that make you proud?" But I only shook my head. "No, Leo. The day you denied the girl from the slums, the sister who raised you for 7 years, was the day our bond ended. Our story is long over." He tried to reach for me, crying, but I had already turned away. The past was behind me, sealed forever. I walked toward the light of a new beginning.